Believe it or not, you guys might be thinking Yoshi's a staple in Melee's intense and ever-changing meta. Yoshi might not be the most common character you will see, but many people praise the character's potential. Some even have conspiracies that Yoshi could even be a top 8 character in the game. Some even say to this day that Yoshi is the most underdeveloped character with the most potential in a game that's over 20 years old. It's pretty crazy to see. However, this wasn't always the case. Here's a video from 2010 where it shows off some people labbing Yoshi's parry mechanic all the way back when Yoshi was a low tier. If someone mastered Yoshi all the way, they could parry many things and rule all. Very cool. I hope somebody tries to work with this competitively. Very interesting. Yoshi always had a fluctuating placement on Melee's official tier list, being ranked initially at 18th as a low to mid tier character. Then as the years would go by, he would rise to 13th, but even be as low as 22. At one point being in the same tier as Pichu, Bowser, Ness, and Kirby in 2010. Yikes. And I know what you're thinking, this is a stark contrast of the character now, being placed 10 on the most recent Melee tier list in 2021. What exactly happened here? Yoshi was definitely one of the most underrated characters in all of Melee. Similar to the video I made on Captain Falcon's Dark Age, this was a long Dark Age for Yoshi, where people were just generally thinking the character was bad and unviable, and it took a long time for people to figure out the character, and it's arguably still happening to this day. Yoshi is by far the most overshadowed character in Melee's meta even back in the day, and here's why it happened. Initially, when people looked at Yoshi in Melee, they immediately had nothing else to compare it to except the N64 version of the character, where Yoshi was a decent character in that game, but compared to the Melee version, Yoshi got a mix of buffs and nerfs, and for the time, people just thought the character was fringe unviable because of the nerfs. One of the changes was Yoshi can no longer jump out of shield, giving him a pretty terrible out of shield game. This was already a problem with the character, and now it's even worse. His throws were made weaker, his shield grab is slower as well, his running grab is misplaced on the Z axis and can miss very easily when at times it looks like it shouldn't. And sealing that all together, his damage potential and KO power on a lot of his moves were nerfed as well. So many people thought he was simply gutted from the Smash 64 version, and then in Melee he was just made really bad. However, the buffs he did receive were, even though he suffers from a lot of shield stun, he has the ability to parry out of shield, which we will talk more about soon, which is a tool no other character in the cast can really do. And despite the KO power being decreased, he has faster moves, and this benefits his combo game now. A lot of his moves have less startup and end lag compared to the Smash 64 version, so essentially a mix-up to the character was definitely implemented. But people just thought he was bad, and they accused him of being a slow character compared to the rest of the cast, and having a terrible recovery, bad shield game, and a losing matchup to a lot of higher tiered characters like Captain Falcon, Fox, and Peach. He was pretty much written off as a gimmick character, which is pretty funny to think about looking back. Many Yoshi mains back in the day failed to bring out the strengths of the character and the meta, so as the tier list went by, he would fluctuate in placements dramatically, and there needed to be some sort of change. Yoshi mains here and there started innovating things like his punish game, utilizing one of the best techniques Yoshi has, double jump canceling. This greatly broadened Yoshi's unique combo game and opened up newer options for the character. Double jump canceling was always there since Smash 64, but people began pushing it more and more than it initially was in the very first release of Melee, where people just thought Yoshi was bad, there's no point of labbing this character. More techniques were figured out, like egg throw as a more consistent tool in Yoshi's kit, which might look like a terrible recovery tool on paper, but he can use this at the ledge and shark people off stage for conversions, and just overall is another underrated tool in Yoshi's kit, and there wasn't any strong Yoshi mains at the time that showed the character's strength to the point of taking him out of low tier. However, there was rumblings happening, and not in America, not in Europe, but in Japan. In late 2012, a Yoshi main began to sprout out of Japan's scene, where the following year in 2013, they began placing in top 8s in events with solo Yoshi. This is really insane because there's no one really solo maining this character, let alone going to top 8s in any competitive scene, especially in America at the time. This player was Amsa. Amsa was exactly what Yoshi needed for the meta, so he was a solo main and he was just playing Yoshi and willing to grind a lot of Yoshi's underrated tech. Amsa began to travel events in America and literally started upsetting top level American players, which, can you imagine this for a second? This dude comes from another country playing solo Yoshi and beats Mewtwo King. someone that was considered a god in 2013. That's like if someone today was from a foreign country and beat H-Box with solo Ness. Like, that's crazy. This one person alone was responsible for the Melee backroom, rising Yoshi 3 spots higher on the next Melee tier list, because they realized, damn, this character can do some work. And as the years went by, Amsa was still keeping up with top level players in America. Despite being from Japan, he was able to keep up with America's best, upsetting and taking down a lot of top players you wouldn't assume could lose to Yoshi. Amsa was placing top 8 at many tournaments from 2015 to even today, as Amsa of course still plays Yoshi to this day. The reason why he was able to do this was because he developed a lot of Yoshi's underrated tech that people overlook. Yoshi is the only character in the game with a unique parry mechanic, making Yoshi into an actually defensive character. Yoshi has a brief period during his jump where he's invincible and he can't get hit. This means he can tank hits and dish it right back to his opponents, and this gives Yoshi an insane advantage. It can punish any character that tries to punish him. His shield can't be shield poke, as again it adds another defensive layer to this character, which again, it's pretty crazy that Yoshi can do all these insane things, but he can't actually jump out of shield. His shield also slides when he gets pressured. This helps him avoid conversions and resets the neutral in his favor. If you really see a top level Yoshi, you'll notice that they just kind of slide across the stage with their movement. It's really cool to see. So in reality, Yoshi was actually a good character, and many people think he has the potential to even go higher in the meta. On the most recent tier list, Yoshi proved himself to be a top 10 character in the game, and many people predict that he can only go up from here.